Michael Myers is a human being who killed his sister when he was 6 years old, and he came after you. We just want to know why. We want a glimpse inside his mind.
Michael Myers murdered 5 people, and he's a human being we need to understand.
They're transferring him.
Tomorrow, 7 o'clock.
You know, he'll be locked away until the end of his days.
That's the idea.
And that's a clip from Halloween. I'm delighted to say we've been joined by its star and executive producer, Jamie Lee Curtis. Hello,
Good morning.
Jamie. How are you?
I'm very well, very happy to be here. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yeah. It's the Halloween hustle.
I'm doing the Halloween hustle. The hustle, that I refer to as the Halloween hustle is, I'm on a promotional tour. And one day when I was in Los Angeles and I was going kind of from thing to thing, I started going like, do
the hustle.
Right, exactly. And so then the Halloween hustle just sort of, and when I'm
works.
bored, you should see me down a hall. I'm doing the curling arm thing and the whole thing.
Are you enjoying doing the Halloween hustle?
I am, and I am for one reason, because the movie's amazing. I have done the hustle for everything I've ever done. It's what we do. We're all, by the way, every person in this room's on the hustle. They're doing their job. We're doing what we do. There are a few moments where you actually do the hustle for something you really love. And this movie is everything we had hoped it would be. It is terrifying. It is funny. It's emotional. And it's a great movie, even and above it being a horror movie. And in that sense, I am thrilled to be hustling.
What is it that persuaded you to get on board again?
It's funny. It's not really a persuasion, which was a great book. I was minding my own business, honestly, on a bit of a vacay with my husband. We were playing golf. And I got a phone call from Jake Gyllenhaal, who is my godson and a good friend. And he had worked with David Gordon Green on the beautiful movie Stronger, the true story of Jeff Bauman, the man who lost his legs in the Boston bombing. And Jake said he had a very good experience creatively with David, and David was going to do a Halloween movie and wanted to talk to me. And so, we spoke, David and I, and then he sent me the script, and I said yes virtually immediately.
When you got the call, did you think, really? We're doing that again? Or did you think, I really hope that works? Or I just wonder what your gut instinct was. Were you thinking, okay, I'm up for this?
I realized just by doing math, which I was never good at, that we're kissing the 40th anniversary. So I was like, oh, right, 40 years, wow. I really didn't know what it was going to be. And that's, he tried to pitch it. He tried to explain it to me. And I said, you know what, David, just send it to me. I will read it. If I like it, I'll do it. If I don't, I won't. It's that easy. Let's not BS each other here. I don't need to spend a lot of time with you telling me what you're going to do. Tell me, isn't there a line in the original movie where she says, let's stop talking about it and get down doing it? Well, in a weird way, that's how I am as an artist. I'm just sort of like not a big talker. I like to get down and do it. I like to get into the process. And I read the script, and here's what got me. The original script, even though the movie opens in this terrifying sequence in a mental institution with Michael, where we meet where he's been all these years. The original script that I read had my granddaughter, played by Andy Matichik, running as a jogger through Haddonfield. So you got all the tree-lined streets, small town USA, welcome to Haddonfield sign she runs past. And then at some point she ran into the house. She ran upstairs, opened her louvered closet door.
I'm getting a little bit nervous now.
And pulled the bare bulb in her closet to illuminate her clothing. And in that second, when I read that script, I went, oh, that's beautiful. We're back in the closet. 40 years later, but it's my granddaughter. And I thought, that's gorgeous way to open a movie. Like right away. 40 years have gone, and I knew where we were.
The outline of the story then? What do we need to know?
Okay, so the outline of the story is that it's 40 years later. Michael Myers has been in a mental institution, prison, since the night in 1978. Laurie Strode survived the attack. I believe she was sent to school the next day. She left school on the 31st of October, a dreaming, intellectual, young virgin, a girl with her life in front of her, a romantic, a beautiful young woman, the epitome of what we would all hope our young daughters to be. And on November 1st, 1978, the victim, surviving victim of this horrific attack that killed all of her friends, she was a freak. She was talked about and whispered about. She no longer had her innocence. Her innocence was obliterated, and she got no help. So the woman we meet 40 years later lives in a compound. She is a prepper. She is perseverating over and over again about that Michael Myers is going to come for her, and she has to be prepared. So much so that when she was raising her young daughter that was made from an assignation in a bar probably somewhere, the authorities have come and taken her young daughter from her because she was an unfit mother, because her obsession was Michael Myers. And that's who we meet. We meet Laurie in her compound. We meet her daughter, who's an adult woman now, and her granddaughter, who's a teenage girl, living not in complete isolation from Laurie, but they have very little contact. And we see Michael in his mental institution, but he is being transferred on Halloween night.
Yeah, whose idea was that? You know, so you think someone in the prison system would have said, "Really, we're going to transfer Michael Myers on October the 30th?" That's.
You know what? It's a big. I mean, yes, of course, you could make that case. When you see the movie, you'll see it's a very large prison system. It's 40 years later. A lot of people have forgotten it, and ultimately, you wouldn't have a movie if he didn't get transferred on Halloween night 40 years later. So
it's got to be Halloween.
In that sense, you're going to have to suspend your disbelief. I believe when you see the first 5 minutes of this movie, you trying to outguess David Gordon Green and Danny McBride on well, why would they do that? Or where they answer all the questions. Characters say things about the other Halloween movies that some of the fans have loved over the years. Comments are made about them, stories. They've all become mythology, and which we talk about in.
Yes.
There's even a wonderful point where a teenage boy says to my granddaughter, "Well, wait a minute. I mean, the guy killed 3 people. I mean, really? Is that really that big a deal?" Because we live in a world, tragically, where hundreds of people are killed at the same time, where 9/11 in our country happened, where massive amounts, Las Vegas was only 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the anniversary of that horrific attack.
Yes.
So we are inured a little bit to the idea that 3 people were killed 40 years ago. And this kid basically says, why is that such a big deal? Even though, of course, for Laurie Strode and any victim of trauma, any act of violence is a big deal.
What was the shoot like?
It was emotional, it was physical, it was daunting, fast. We shot it very economically. It was shot, all of us got paid nothing. It was made in the same manner that the first Halloween was made, very fast, very collaboratively. I had a very emotional experience during the making of it because Laurie is this broken human being. And I felt that in order to do my job well, I had to tell the truth. And to tell the truth, I had to become very broken.
One of the reasons I think people will lap this up is that it feels very much a movie for 2018 because it is all the things that you've just said, and it also becomes a movie about 3 women
taking back the narrative. Women have been oppressed, assaulted, and they are starting to talk about it. Because by talking about it, by actually saying what happened is the truth, you take back the power from the perpetrator. Bill Cosby is in prison. Mr. Cosby is enjoying a really prison meal today because 80 women came forward and said that he drugged them and raped them. In our case, we have 3 generations of women. As we know, I'm in England. I'm reading a book about the First World War. I only can imagine the trauma that this nation had from the First World War, the amount of trauma that came back with those soldiers. those brave boys. And then, of course, the trauma that then inflicts their children and their children. We know it from the Holocaust. Their children, their children. That's what we're making a movie about. We're making a movie about generational trauma. And yes, it's ironic that the movie was written, you're very astute, before the Me Too movement. And then in the middle of shooting it, August of last year, all of a sudden, the phrase Me Too, time's up. All of a sudden, women, those young girls who were abused by that doctor, who were gymnasts, all standing on that stage at the ESPN Awards saying, we are here and you're in prison. That's power being taken back from a perpetrator. And ultimately, that's Laurie Strode's mission here. That's been her mission from day one, that she is waiting for the opportunity to take it back, because what he took from her was her innocence, and you cannot get it back without taking it back.
Could that have all happened a few years back? Why has it happened now?
Well, isn't that the phrase, life imitates art, art imitates life? It is what happens. We don't know. We've been talking a lot about power and women, and, Wonder Woman was made a year ago. But it was made 3 years ago, really. I mean, it was conceived 3 years ago. It took a long time to make the movie. It was very expensive. And it was directed by a woman, starred a woman, made a bunch of money. This movement toward women, I live in the state of California. The governor, 3 days ago, for the first time, the first state in the United States of America, said, I am making a law that requires publicly held corporations to require them to have women on the board, because the voices of women have been silenced by a patriarchy. And I'm not slamming you guys, by the way. I'm speaking to a man.
Feel free. That's fine. Carry on.
No, but I'm not.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm not here to, nobody is trying to say to every man listening to this, you're bad and we're all good. We're saying it's been an unequal representation. We don't have the ERA in America. We don't have equal rights as women. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Not all human beings are created equal. That's gotta change. But I'm not slamming guys. By the way, every job I've ever gotten has come from a man. Every great opportunity I've ever been given. John Cleese wrote Wanda for me. Jim Cameron wrote Helen Tasker for me. That was a gift. John Carpenter hired me to be Laurie Strode. These people have changed my life forever. I am married to a man who was born into a family that was given a hereditary peerage. He became a lord. I attended the state opening of Parliament, which was a great privilege for me and for my husband. And then correctly, Tony Blair was elected and did away with hereditary peerage. We both believe in that. You see, I love men. I am married to a great one. And yet there is an unequal representation in the universe between men and women, and Halloween is just a great opportunity for 3 women to reap a little
revenge,
a little equality.
It's about equality. Jamie Lee Curtis, thank you. May you continue to do the hustle for many years.
Do 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 do
That's the one. Van McCoy, I think.
Happy Halloween, everybody.